Stuff is loud, dude. You gotta mute that. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are
What do
back.
you mean? You can
One
hear that?
more week of yes, we can hear that. Um, on Syncretize, we are talking about mission and meaning. And for the last week, we've been talking about gaming, and this week we're bringing it right back. Syncretized. Hey, I am a gamer. And so we're going to talk about what it means to be a gamer. Community building is one of the things we learned last week as it relates to being a gamer. And today I want to include and welcome in my co-host. So the first one I'm going to bring in is young prodigy, brother Micah. Micah, you here with us?
Hello.
All right, and then we will bring in brother Kenny. All three of us will be on screen. There we go. All right, brother Ken, you good?
Yo, what's popping?
All right. All right, it's great to have you all again this week. I did not do my beginning work for this week as it relates to any actual video gaming, or at least gaming like you. I play games on my Kindle, and it's two games that I play. And we talked about that last week. But we are further diving into what it means to build and become a part of a community, or the gaming community, as you both are avid members. So I'm going to I think I know the direction we can go with this today as it relates to being a part of a community. And the first question is this: what does it take to be a part of the gaming community? Is there an application process? Is there a secret handshake? What is it? How does that happen?
It's more of just if you start playing a game enough, you'll eventually come in contact with others who play said game, which then introduces you to the rest of the community. So if you want to learn more about how this game is played, or what updates may be coming, or people's opinions on what's happening in the game, you can just look it up on the internet, and that will introduce you to the rest of that game's community.
Okay. All right. Brother Kenny, how about yourself?
Well, for me, I think it's okay. For me, I think it is your commitment to the craft of, well, we're just talking about gaming, but your commitment to the game, and willingness to learn and to lead.
Oh, okay.
Because depending on what you're playing, you might not always be able to play a supportive role. You might have to step up and actually lead.
Okay.
And that can be scary.
Okay.
Like the game I was playing before we started, I noticed one thing in Apex, that sometimes people will not want to be what's called the jump master. But they will ping a location where they want to go. They just don't want to be the one to make the choice. They just want to suggest. And I think it's because where you drop can make or break your team. So it's like, I don't want that responsibility. And sometimes that come across as like, I don't want the responsibility because I want to be able to blame someone else for the fact we didn't win, even if I'm not contributing.
But how does that go to building a community? Because the question was, how do you build a community?
Well, a small part of that, if you think about it, when you're talking about building a community, is that, like I said, you have to be willing to step up and lead and take responsibility. So although it seems very simple, like, okay, you're the jump master, like I said, depending on where you drop, where you take your team, there might not be any good loot there. And if another team drops with you, or several other teams drop with you, the game could end right there.
Wow.
So you're talking about community building. You might have a community of people or friends on your PSN or on your Xbox or Nintendo Switch who consistently will not how do I say this? They will not step up to lead. What they will do is consistently play a seemingly supportive role, but really they're setting themselves up to be able to complain about everything that's going on because they don't want to have to put their hand to the plow. And hopefully you see where that's going.
Okay, go ahead, Micah.
If I could give a gaming example, where everyone has a specific role and some people choose not to lead. Overwatch. When playing Overwatch, there are 3 different roles that two people on your team will play for each. There's 2 heavies, 2 damaging or just normal characters, and then 2 healing characters. If you choose to be a part of the heavy category, you can't be at the back and let everyone else go forward. Your role is to be the protection or be at the front and dealing the most damage to people. So it doesn't make sense for heavies to stay at the back and try to do damage from afar. If you're going to do that, then you should probably choose a medic character, because those characters will probably stay back. They can still do damage, but they'll also be healing.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like both of you enjoy being a part of games where you're starting out with a team or you're working with people. How does that help you in real life?
Well, for me personally, to kind of piggyback off what Master Michael was saying, it helps me to understand that everyone, from a ministerial standpoint, there are times when we think that our role is essential to the whole thing working. And really, I think what we're talking about is the understanding, like Michael was saying, that everybody has a role. And if you are not where you should be doing what you should be doing, then you're crippling your team. It takes everybody working together in their role in order for this, for a positive outcome. And like in real life, often in a church, we just see people that are willing to just pass the buck somewhere else. I don't want to have to be responsible. Nominating committee time comes. Nah, I don't want to step up and do it, but have a whole lot to say about what's going on. And it's like, you have to step up. That's why you're here.
You can't complain about someone who's in power if you didn't do anything to try to get someone who would be more supportive for your roles in power.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So I'm hearing that there is this community that you create. Sometimes it's created by the game, and sometimes, as Micah said, it's how long you're playing the game, and I guess you just learn about other people who are playing the game, and you all can talk about playing the game together or at the same time. I think last week we talked a little bit about how there could be judgment in a community. When it comes to the gaming community, is there particular kinds of people who just can't be a part of the gaming community?
Absolutely not. It's really kind of like the church in that, each game, like I think I said last week, it's like individual churches. One game might be Hacienda Heights, another game might be Juniper Avenue. Everyone belongs somewhere. The key is to figure out where I belong and where I can function best in order to achieve the overall goal. And I think that's the part that often gets missed, because our idea is, okay, well, I'm in a church, so it doesn't matter, or I'm just in a game. But if you haven't learned and you haven't, like I said, put your hand to the plow, then it's like, what
are you doing?
What are you good for? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's old school when you up outside. It's a pickup basketball game. You know who you ain't picking, because you know they ain't about the right.
Right.
They ain't gonna contribute nothing to this squad, man.
But then how do you make those kinds of determinations when you don't know exactly who's going to be playing? Mike used to have this game Splatoon that I tried to play a couple times, and there was a phase in the game where you could just like jump into and be on a team, and you could see the people's their avatars or whichever. in those situations, you don't know who's going to be a part of it, but you still have the goal to work together to try to achieve the goal of winning the phase or winning the prize or whatever that is. As you guys have been gamers, how do you determine how we are going to work? How will I work with this group of people who I don't know, and try to get us all in the same spot so that we can make it forward? Is there one? Bueller? Bueller?
Okay, so for if I'm hearing you correctly, the judgment is made on how you play. Because the truth is, the way gaming is set up now, back in the day, your competition was in the room with you.
Right.
But now, since we're online, I don't know anything about you. In fact, we're not even using our real names.
That's the point.
So I think that what the gaming community has is that I'm going to watch you play. And depending on how you play, because some people play very selfishly. Sometimes people don't make good decisions, whatever the case may be. You don't have good map awareness, whatever. I'm going to watch you, and I'm going to make my judgment based off of what I see rather than what someone else tells me.
But now, see, here's my question.
Hey, Melanie.
I'm sorry?
Oh, no. Somebody in chat. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm wondering why I can't see my chats. It should be able to pop up here. Tell them to type something. They type something in your chat or in the chat for the YouTube?
Yeah, they're in Twitch.
On Twitch.
Oh. Invite them to add it to the YouTube chat. I just want to see that my thing is working here. Thank you. So when you have these opportunities to be or create community, for lack of a better term, in the game with people who you do not know, okay, Kenny, you say, well, you're going to watch them play, but you don't have an unlimited amount of time to watch them play. You got to make a decision in 5 to 15 seconds, maybe up to 30, depending on the length of the time that you have in whatever phase of the game that you're in. How do you do that? Or is there any other way that you could figure out, this is someone I want to play with this person again, or nah, I got to make sure I'm never playing with this person again? Micah, you got an idea?
For one, well,
You can't
Could
just
you
have
repeat the
dead
question?
air. The question is this. Listen, this is why you can't be trying to do two things at the same time. The question is, when you're playing a game, let's say the Splatoon game, the example I gave before, and you're starting, there are 4 people, 3 people on the team. As soon as you start to play, you don't have an unlimited amount of time to figure out, do I want to play with these people again? Like what determines I want to play with this person again? How do you figure that part out?
The thing with most games is that you don't really get to choose who you're playing with, and you also don't really get to choose whether or not you play with them again. Because if anything happens, like you take too long loading, it could just completely switch up your lobby and you're playing with an entirely new group of people.
Right.
And
but it depends on the game you're playing, because if you are playing a game like Overwatch, you can actively avoid a teammate or an opponent based on the way that they play.
Okay. And I'm asking this question because it seems like, are there skills that you all pick up when you're playing video games that you can determine on real life relationships? What are the same things that you look at in how someone does something that I can make a determination in the first couple of seconds of playing this game with so-and-so, I don't want to play with them again because they take too many risks? Does that same thing work for you in real life when you are now at school, Micah, or on the job, Kenny, and you go, this person acts like this one, within the first couple of seconds of meeting them or doing anything with them, you recognize I'm not going to do that, because you do that in every phase. You do this playing the video game, you do the same thing in real life. Do you understand? Does that make more sense?
Yeah, but
I think so.
I think that's where it gets controversial, because
How is that controversial?
because when you're, in my opinion, when you're in a game, depending on that game, the goal is clear. Right? When you are in church, the goal could be a plethora of things.
Well, you keep coming to church. I'm going to say life.
Whether
that life for you is your church life, that so be it. But then the question is, how does your ability to make decisions about who you play with in the game, even if it's randomly selected, how do those decisions translate, or do they translate to how you do things in real life?
Absolutely.
Yes.
The once again, for example, Overwatch. If you don't like the way a person is playing, you can actively avoid them, right? Other people you can prefer to play with. So, and I like the aspect of, when I'm gaming, I'm able to watch what you do rather than hear what you say. I don't even go and look at other players' profiles. What I do is watch how they play. Now, even if a person, to me, sucks, it could be that they sucked based on the position that I was in. It doesn't necessarily mean that they suck. They are still useful. I just need to play a different position around this person in order for us to achieve our goal. So in real life, I think, and I hope I'm not stretching this, but this is why cancel culture doesn't work. Because even if a person messes up, there has to be some there's still redemptive qualities there. You just don't understand how this person, how this job, how this circumstance is going to aid your life. Just because you don't understand it now doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. Change position, and then you'll find out, you know what, that person that I really had so many problems with, we're good now.
Okay, I really enjoyed what you just said there, because you got a word. That's a sermon right there. We weren't trying to take it to church, but you just took it to church simply because you say there are situations that we can be in life, akin or also like when you're in a video game. If you're in a game when you're playing a different role or different roles, and you can get upset with someone who might be a newbie, or they could be experienced, but your thought process is, in order for me to be able to play again with them, I've got to have the grace in my own mind to be able to say, you know what, if I change my position, I can get along with this person that much better. And I think that works very well also in real life, IRL. If I am able to change my own position or how I am perceived, it can go a long way to making the relationship between me and person X a lot better. What do you think about that, Micah?
I think absolutely. And I actually had something that I wanted to say earlier about the thing that I usually take from video games is roles. Just like the way I see it, in each like group of people, every specific person will have some sort of role. And now I try to I think that I try to say when I think someone's stepping a little out of their known comfort zone, in which they know what they're talking about or they know what they're doing. And so, like, just in a game, your role will define what most likely you're going to be doing in certain situations.
Okay.
And so, don't how do I say this? Don't try to do more, or actually, wait, no. Don't try to do more than you think you should be doing to try and make up for someone else.
Okay.
Instead,
that is key, bro.
Help them get better, because if you are doing more than one thing, you're doing too much.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's a word right there as well. Y'all dropping deep gems now. Y'all dropping real life. Work this thing out. If you are having to do more because you're looking at someone else thinking that they are less, you're not giving that person the opportunity to grow. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
you're not giving that person the opportunity to be able to get to your level. Because if you're doing too much, you're limiting the actual capability of your team member to be able to help you all to get over whatever your gaming objective or objectives are. Man, you guys are killing it right now as it relates to gaming, I'm learning a whole bunch. What are you about to say?
Add this part. I wanted to add this part in there too, because like this is also within the Twitch community overall.
Okay.
There is a and I didn't bring it out here because it's in the house, but there is this understanding, I think, among gamers that self-care in this is very important.
Okay.
Your mental and emotional state, because the truth is, some gamers are passionate, and their emotions come through the live stream. It comes through the voice chat, and sometimes it's toxic. Sometimes it is positive.
Wholesome.
And my thing since earlier last year is that when it stops being a game, you got to turn it off.
Okay.
You have to turn it off, because you're allowing what's happening around you to affect your actual mood, because at the end of the day, we have to remember this is a game, it's not life.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Isn't what you all do in the game, or does what you do in the game teach you about life? Or how is there anyone that goes on a gaming platform and plays a game, but plays the game differently than how they introduce or interact with real people in life? Go ahead.
Absolutely. That's true. But see, what I'm getting at is the fact that when I sat down in this chair, turned on the computer, turned on the PlayStation, I approached this entire situation wrong.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that, and even in real life, there are days when you wake up, you go out of the house, your mind isn't right. You think that everybody on the highway is supposed to drive the way you think they should drive. Right. When you go to the grocery store, they need to act the way you think they ought to act in there. Mm-hmm. All that kind of stuff. And you did not take into consideration that I'm not in control of anything except what I control. This is mine. Mm-hmm. There's 5 other ones that are coming with me. So what I have to now do then is make space for other people to have an opinion, to have questions, to make moves that they think are best, because all 6 of us in this game have to continually adapt to one another and to the opponents.
Okay.
And daily, that's what we should be doing. Like when I'm at work, I have to adapt to all the people that I work with, to the circumstances, and then I have to come home and adapt to my wife and my child. Because if you let all this stuff run together on you, you just become a very toxic gamer who now thinks that everything is supposed to go the way you think, and when it doesn't, Micah's trash, Micah's toxic, Micah's this, Micah's that, and it's like,
what did I do?
Exactly. It's like, I don't think you considered.
I just switched everybody around.
On his Switch or his PS4, he wasn't thinking, how does Ken want me to play today?
Okay. You'll notice that my screen just changed because my camera died. So, you won't notice it. Anyone who's watching the stream, you'll see it in a second.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, and now I switched around, so now the wrong person is under their lower third.
Yeah.
I just became Star Fox Trinity. Oh, sorry.
There it is.
Uncle Kenny runs it now.
Yeah.
There you
So
go.
this is what we're gonna do. Well, I got one more. Another thing that came to mind just now. I'm gonna make a quick switcheroonie here. I'm gonna move that to where it's supposed to be. So now you'll see them back where they're supposed to be until I switch the scenes again. But there's something that is there a way of speaking about gaming that is I'm sorry, now I got the hiccups. Appropriate or inappropriate? I keep, like, right now we've turned playing video games into gaming. Sorry. Is there something wrong with someone saying, well, you just playing video games, versus, oh, you're a gamer? Or if there is, can you explain that to me? I'm gonna take myself off screen just for a moment, while you guys work that part out.
Michael, you start.
Okay. I think there is definitely a difference between playing video games and being a gamer, because just because you give someone an ice pack and a Band-Aid doesn't make you a doctor. And just because you put together a table doesn't make you a professional construction worker.
My Lord.
So there's definitely...
You preaching.
If you're playing a video game, then you're doing this for either the first time, or this is something you do rarely, or this is something that you don't take as seriously as someone who would call themselves a gamer. And I'd say a gamer is someone who would either take the game very seriously or put in the effort and work to be really good at their said game. So, yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. Go ahead, brother Ken. Oh my goodness, sorry.
Wow. You touched on something interesting there, but I'm the kind of person who I'm trying my best to understand more than just my little world. And I get it when people say, oh, well, you just playing video games, you're just wasting time. However, I'm not sure you can judge somebody else's usage of their time, because when you do that, you're only basing it off of what you think they should be doing, which goes back to the last point. And I agree with Micah. Gaming is when you come to the platform in a competitive nature with a I guess depending on what you're playing, with a team mindset or with an objective. Like when you get Detroit Become Human, I think that you'll understand that, okay, I'm only going to be here for a limited time, so I want to get this far in the storyline, versus I'm just going to sit here and veg out until I don't want to do it anymore, and then I'm out.
Yeah.
I think that's a person who's just playing video games. And this is, once again, and I feel like I need to keep stressing this, this is where self-care comes into play, because when you're stepping to this, you're having an interaction, you're having an experience. And I think that we all understand that everything needs to be taken in moderation. So you don't come to, even if it's Splatoon, Apex, Overwatch, Last of Us, whatever it is, you don't come daily with that competitive nature. For example, on Twitch, there are gamers who have alter egos, right?
Okay.
And that alter ego can sometimes be, depending on who's looking at that person, a bit questionable.
Or extreme.
Okay.
Right?
I think that's your point,
so then
right?
The question becomes, when does the real you and this character, like, when do you forget,
like,
that
this is a character.
The real you needs to govern the character.
Okay.
You have to do that. So it's kind of a is kind of a Banner versus Hulk kind of thing. You need to you
Who's
might be the Hulk right now, but you need Banner.
Right. Banner needs to be in control,
or Hulk. Do away with him because that's your intellect, that's your intelligence, that's your ground wire. You lose that, you're probably going to hurt yourself and somebody else. And there are certain things that, because we're online and because we're gaming, you can't come back from. There was a young man who last year, he texted something on Xbox, and it had to do with causing harm to people in his school. That person reported him, and the FBI showed up that day to incarcerate that teenager. And it's like, hey man, it's no longer a game. You should have turned it off because you're way too emotional.
I get your point, but see, isn't that a valid danger when you have so many young people who are learning and growing up in the gaming culture, that while I as an adult look at what they're doing and say, well, they're just playing games, they want to be gamers, or they believe themselves to be gamers. While I don't play a lot of the video games like at the level that you guys play, it's similar to me. Like when I go to play basketball, I'm not an NBA player, but there are some people who come out that got NBA talent. And then there are other people who think they got NBA talent, but they ain't done nothing. They haven't done anything, than play rec league. And because they have that mindset, you already know this is not gonna be an enjoyable time, me playing with this person. How are you able to determine that sort of a thing when you are gaming? Does that make sense?
Well, given what you just used, and once again, I hope I'm not wrong, but I've been struggling with this lately because I believe there's certain things that we know. You know what you know, right? So you're on the court. It's a pickup game. You're looking at other people coming into the gym. You see it, right?
Right.
Brooks, you see it when they come through the door. Here we go. Here comes LeBron James. Ain't got a contract, ain't got a shoe deal, none of that. But they super serious, and they think that they're the heart and soul of the team, and we ain't even picked teams yet.
Right.
And you've been playing basketball enough to know when that character comes through the door. I don't think I don't necessarily think that's judging. You just know what you know.
Right.
And you don't even have to say anything. Sometimes you just stand back and watch. See, I say it here, it goes out there. Oh my gosh. So I think we have to at least be willing to give ourselves that much and not be so timid and shy where we're not calling a duck when we see it because we're afraid of somebody. No, you got to give that duck a chance to be whatever it wants. I know what it is.
If it looks like a goose and it sounds like a goose and it acts like a goose, it's not a duck, it's a goose.
Okay.
Right. There's some people before the game even starts, right? So in Overwatch, you start in your spawn point. The same thing happens in Paladins. There are people sometimes I just stand still and I watch how they move around. They cause more damage in the spawn point than they do out there in the real game.
Because you can already tell.
Yeah,
you can already tell which one of them's gonna.
It's like when I see that, I can tell. I know that this person here, they're never going to be where they should be. They're not going to be fulfilling their role for the betterment of the team. What they're doing is they're doing what's profitable for them and not profitable for the team.
Okay.
And just let me do this real quick.
Okay.
Same thing happens in the church. You cannot be in here going hard for yourself and saying, well, I'm not going to help anybody until it's beneficial to me. Because that's not how it works. You can't even read scripture like that. You can't play games you can't do anything like that. Unless it's something you built from the ground up that is specifically for you. You can't play basketball like that.
Right. Okay. I'm hearing what you're saying. No matter where you are in gaming, or even if you're playing games, you still have to be able to work within the community, and the community has its own parameters for being a good actor within the community versus being not such a good actor. Depending on how long you've been in the community, you're able to identify something I asked you all earlier within those first 10, 15, 30 seconds. If this person is somebody that we can be able to win with, or do I take an L here, or do I do the extra work to try to get us through, and then decide when we get through that I'm not going to probably want to play with person X or gamer X again.
Okay. So Michael, when you brought that up, what came to my mind is that when we try to switch position or do more than what we should do, we're actually hurting the team too. Because
you got those people who are playing medics who are trying to play attackers. Like, you're the point of you choosing that character is you're supposed to stay in the back, help people heal. You can do damage. Don't get me wrong. You can do damage, but that's not your main thing.
Absolutely. And I'm not vegging out when I'm here. And I think Overwatch is a wonderful case study, because Overwatch, Dr. Brooks, if you don't know, has something called role queue now. What that means is you have to pick the role before you're able to pick your hero.
It's a whole other thing. It
used to be before role queue that you picked your hero and that determined your role. But since it was free, sometimes only damage. There's no healing and no tanks. And I started to think about that thing, and I'm like, wow. It almost seems as if we all, thanks for that host, that we all get, or we see strength and power in doing damage rather than giving life. We think that the act of giving life is weakness. And I don't want to do that. I want to cause chaos out here. And it's like, listen, going back to the point, if I'm doing more, trying to switch off and go and be this other person because this person is not playing well, usually we're going to lose the game anyway. And in terms of community, I think that this is one of those areas where it's a one-way street. I cannot do what either one of you can do. You are not replaceable and you're not interchangeable. The fact that you're here means that you got a purpose here that nobody else can feel.
Okay.
And you have to do it. I can't call on somebody else, or I can't take on more responsibility, because the gifts that are in you were given to you for the sake of the community.
Right.
So if you're replaceable, then that means that you're really not necessary. Insert cancel culture. I can just replace you with somebody else, bro. So you act up, but the truth is you can't. You just can't.
That's the whole, and that's another thing, like right there with the whole role queue that started up in Overwatch, is like when you have these meta characters going off on their own, trying to hit snipes from like wherever. Like, you knew you chose a meta character. You knew what you were supposed to do. Why are you trying to do something else? If you want to do this, say you're doing it and follow through. Don't say you're going to do one thing. They completely switch and try to do somebody else's job.
Okay. Wolves in sheep's clothing. I heard you.
Sheep's clothing. You showed up here looking like one thing, but in your heart, you were something else. And this is where the individual sitting in these various chairs has to decide, what kind of person am I going to be in this community? Because when you look at what's going on socially, I mean, it's crazy. You remember McNair from the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah. He got killed by a girlfriend.
Wasn't that crazy? Because it wasn't until he died that we found out you got a whole nother family over here. Right. Look at Bill Cosby. all the wonderful things that he's done, and later on we found out you had this going on. Let what's in you be what comes out of you.
Okay,
so
okay. I need
you to be confused about who you are. You don't want to use your community or your good works to assuage the guilt that's in you, because you know that behind the scenes you're not really a team player. So, you're here for yourself.
Okay. So even if we're talking about not being a team player, so all games are not team games. How do you join the community of a game that is a first-person shooter? Like those are very popular types of games now, where people just go in and they just go in, like I think the was one that used to be like the most famous was GoldenEye, when they were just the 007 game.
I remember that.
So when it comes to being a part of a community where everybody is
glitch,
it's supposed to be one single person every time you go out. How do you build a community there when you're used to being just the one person, or do you?
Well, in those games, the community will more likely be put around figuring out different strategies on how to progress through the game faster, or finding secrets that the developers of the game may have hidden in different corners of said game. So in games where you're usually meant to be played, that are usually played by yourself, the community isn't as much for figuring out how to play as a team, than how to make sure that everyone can have the best experience playing this said game.
Okay. So in the situation of a first-person shooter, then the community while the community is made up of people who play the game, their responsibility or their role is to help out anyone else who is learning the game, so that they can be the best that they can be within the game.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but there's another facet to that.
Okay.
In a game where it's single player, there also you can build a community based on how well, i.e., score in the game.
Okay.
Right? Just real quick, there was a gamer by the name of Billy Mitchell. I don't know if you've heard that name before, but he's old school. He's an arcade player, and he had the record for and he was given an award from Namco for his score in Pac-Man. And I didn't know this until I found out who Billy Mitchell was. Did
they make a documentary about that guy?
Yes.
Okay.
Billy Mitchell played Pac-Man so well that he got to a level where the board he was on just digitized and disappeared. Like there was nothing. Wow. He reached a point where there's nothing beyond this, Billy. You've reached the top. We never intended that anybody would make it here. And then he moved on to Donkey Kong. Now, when you're making these records, you have to play the game on the platform that it was built on and the way it was meant to be played.
Right.
You can't use what's called an emulator. You can't use an emulator. You have to use an actual gaming cabinet. What they found out was that Billy Mitchell had conspired with the arcade owner, and he switched out the board out of the arcade cabinet for Donkey Kong and put in an emulator. So the records that he had in that game, they took away his awards. They took his scores away, all of that, because once again, in this community, you were posing. We believed in you, Billy. We thought that you really did this, but you didn't. And none of this was called for. Nobody said, Billy, if you don't do this, it's going to be a shock to the world. It's almost like it became just a thing for him that I have to do this. And once again, if you don't approach it the right way, you got to pull back, even in real life, because sometimes just being, if you will, a member of Juniper Avenue becomes a thing, and nobody's gonna move me out of here. And I say
it is a thing, though. It is a thing.
Like you're forgetting the purpose, though, of what brought us here.
Right. Jesus Christ and Him crucified.
Be fun for everyone.
Right.
And you broke it.
Wow.
I mean, that fall was
steep.
long, and it was very steep. And I mean, we're on a different platform, but and it's already public knowledge. But whatever took place on Twitch with a prominent streamer, when he got banned, and it's like you never come back. It's like, dude, what happened?
And that's the thing. We still don't know.
Height of your game, you blew it.
They ain't revealing what happened too. So I'm like, what did he do? Because that means it's either this person did something really, really, really bad, or
it must have been because he's not coming back to the platform.
Or
and so
goofed.
I think that's where we enter into that area where, once again, the self-care is important, because it allows you to pull back even in real life and reassess why I go to the basketball court, why I turn on the computer and stream, why I game, even why I am in this relationship. Because without that, we start taking one another for granted, and the fall, like you said, is steep.
So if I can jump in here, then, when we're talking about the parameters for gaming, you could either be gaming on a single person game, or you're gaming on a game that has teams. As far as teams are related, it's important for you to know your role, and it's also important to know who you are within that role in the gaming world. So at the same time, in real life, IRL, we would be able to get the most out of life when we know our role, or we know what our place in the world is, or, for lack of a better term, when we know our purpose in real life. Any game or anything, that obstacle that comes towards us, we are able to overcome, get through, whether or not we have a team or if we're trying to do it on our own. Does that sound like a reasonable assessment of what you guys have said? So then I've got another question then, coming back. Oh, go ahead. You were going to jump in there?
No, I was going to say there's an episode of Justice League where Batman, who we all know as a master tactician, they're trying to figure out something. And I remember Batman saying to the core group, I have the question looking into it. And they were like, the question? That dude is crazy. But even Batman understood, you might think he's crazy, but he is the best at what we need for right now. See, and that, I think that's another example of where, even when people mess up or you don't find value, and along with what you're saying, the individual has to find value in their role. Sometimes other people are not going to give it to you. They're not going to come by and say, hey, Michael, you did a good job, or Dr. Brooks, that was a bomb podcast or a bomb sermon. You have to be comfortable in who you are and what you're doing, and understand that you are fulfilling a purpose, even if that purpose isn't seen yet. Because, people suck. We catch on to things later when it's hype. Everybody clout chasing. Are you heard about Syncretize? That is dope. Syncretize been on for the last 2 years.
You late.
Come on, man.
Well, that's what normally tends to happen. It tends to happen. It takes people a while to grab on to stuff, and it also takes us a while for us to be good at any particular thing. We had Micah read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And it speaks to this 10,000 hours deal of being able to become proficient at something. And even for you all who are gamers, when you're able to spend that kind of time becoming proficient at a particular game, I think that there should be, and you should be aware of what particular skills, talents, abilities that you're sharpening, when others who are not in the gaming community look at you and say, well, you're just playing around. or you're just wasting time. How does the endeavor and time commitment that you've put into this thing that no one else seems to see any value in, how does that time commitment translate to anything else in your life? And I think that also speaks to something you talked about earlier, Kenny, when we start recognizing the responsibility of self-care, that I can take time away from doing this particular thing, so that I am not burnt out and I don't enjoy it anymore. Now, when we're looking at, we're going to get ready to wind it up now. And being a gamer and being involved in gaming.
Hey, thanks for the host.
Minnie? Huh?
Go ahead.
I can do a Twitch chat. You're good.
Oh, yeah. When we're doing, when you guys are part of this gaming world and enjoying the fruits of whatever that is, do you see, like, how does your gaming enjoyment translate to getting more people to playing your games?
Well, human beings are pack animals. I think we know.
Herd
We know
mentality
this.
is real.
If you, as a live streamer, you have to enjoy what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't enjoy it, ain't nobody coming.
Right.
Because I didn't drop into your stream to see you throw temper tantrums. However, birds of a feather do flock together.
Okay.
So if you
Okay.
are a toxic person from jump, you might actually enjoy the toxicity
Mercy.
of a particular streamer.
Toxicity loves company.
Right. Once again, there was a streamer who was on this platform. They're not here anymore because people tuned in to see the rage.
Okay.
And this person's community would routinely do things to them that would cause them to rage. And I'm like, you might be making money. You might have some notoriety. But at what cost?
Right.
It's almost like you're willing to sacrifice your mental state for money, and ultimately it didn't pay off.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So there's also a thing about being offline. And in those offline times, like every year I would take 1 or 2 weeks away from gaming and streaming altogether. One of those weeks was supposed to be summer camp.
Summer
Given the way Rona is set up,
yeah,
that ain't happening. So
Corona.
yeah, I have to do that another way, but I enjoyed it because not only am I not streaming, am I not gaming, I'm away. You know what I'm saying? I'm up in the mountains. I'm with wonderful people, and it's a great experience. It ain't no cell service, so you have to immerse yourself in what you're doing. Don't think about down the hill. Think about what's going on up here.
Right.
And it also helps clear that space in your head that you need to have when you are gaming or when you're doing something else, that if I'm working, I need to be working. I don't want to be working and playing Apex at the same time.
Right.
Because that's not how our minds work. And we're even told you're going to love one, you're going to hate the other. You can't serve two masters.
Yeah.
So for the game, in particular, you have to work on that self-care. You have to have that same determination that when you're dialed in, and I've seen some people who are even in my chat right now have some crazy plays.
Wow.
In the games they're playing. It's like, whoa, that was dope. And it's like that person's mental acuity, they are dialed in.
Right.
And I had another stream, challenge me now. When you put the controller down, do you have that same ferocity? Are you going that hard in the pulpit? Are you going that hard with your daughter, with your wife? Or are you still thinking about what you was doing over there, so you can't really commit to what you're doing here?
Okay, we got to bring this to a close. I appreciate that point there, Kenny, and I was trying to remember what it was, the last thing that I wanted to touch on, and it had to do...
The fact that he's going to be playing live Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what we're doing? We're talking about me playing this game And sometime,
Yes.
are we scheduling this now? Are we scheduling it today?
You know what?
Because that's what
It's a
you
very
gotta schedule
simple.
it.
It's a very simple machine to hook up. In fact,
This is the PS4
you know what?
you're talking
You know what I
about?
did for you, brother?
What'd you do for me, brother?
I got the dedicated camera for PlayStation.
I don't know what that means.
No, don't worry about it. No. Don't do that. I see you. Don't do that.
Don't de-hype it.
Yeah, you're going to enjoy this.
Okay.
And people are going to enjoy you enjoying this.
Okay.
This is
we'll
right
see.
up your alley.
All right. Detroit becomes human.
Live on stream right now. After you've done this, I want at least 5 dope sermons. I want a sermon series.
A sermon
I think
series.
you could definitely do some stuff with that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll be looking forward to it.
minimum.
What we have not done, we've not scheduled that. So when we do schedule that, we'll post it online and we'll put some stuff up on IG to let people know that they could tune in on that day to watch me make a fool of myself in this game. And that would be pretty awesome. I don't like the fact that you applauded that, Micah. That's not very cool. So anyway, we've come down to the end. I can't remember what my last point was going to be.
I have a hypothetical.
You have a hypothetical, or it wouldn't be as Syncretize if we did not have a hypothetical at the end from one hiding in a dumpster. So take it away, young man.
Okay, so this will, a bit like last week, probably not apply as much to you, Dad, as it will for Uncle Kenny and me, but we'll see. If you could transfer one game into a movie that you could participate in, which game would it be?
Oh, okay. Oh, God bless you there, Kenny.
No, I was looking at game. You said that I could translate into a movie that I would be in?
Yes, you would have a role in the movie.
I like comedies, and because of that, I'm gonna say Overcooked 2.
That sounds fun to watch.
Shenanigans all day long. Shenanigans. That would be dope.
I would want to be in. I know one came out recently last year, but I'd want to be in a Pokemon movie. There's a lot of CGI, definitely, but I still think it'd be fun to participate in.
But they would have to do it right.
Yes, like Detective Pikachu. I give that they did it right. I'd say that at least. I like the movie.
Dr. Brooks, you like movies. Let me tell you something. Game properties like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z, trash.
Yeah, they don't make good movies a lot of the time.
You remember Mario Brothers?
They made that into a movie.
Yes, they did. But there was a different
work.
time when those things were happening. So it was a very different time, and I think the advent of CGI and all those sorts of things make those movies a lot more appealing, at least visually, even if the stories are a little wanting. I don't have a game that I would want to say that I want to be in the movie. I enjoy watching the movies. I don't really care for what the games are, and I guess once we do this other one that you keep talking about, we'll see how that goes.
He'd probably
Michael,
be
what
in
were
that
you
one,
gonna say?
Michael.
Yeah.
He'd probably be in that one.
I think so.
I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy this. You really will.
Okay.
Something to know is that what makes for.
Let me just say, CGI, I get that, but the script was trash for Mario Brothers.
How long ago? That's a 20-year-old movie, 30 years old. You're still worried and tripping over that?
But here's the thing.
But even Street Fighter was trash.
Yeah.
And how old is that one?
It's old too, but I'm saying the script.
The point of the matter is, I'm not going to dwell on things that are that old, simply because at that time they didn't put value in the properties. They didn't put real screenwriters on them.
A movie adaptation of a video game, except for the first Mortal Kombat, but that's because the bar is so low. There has not been an adaptation that
you're
has been
going
good.
off on a whole nother thing that's not this podcast, and you're extending our time unnecessarily. Please, sir, stay in your lane. Let's end this.
Yeah. We're gonna end this. Make for a good movie.
Thank you, Micah, for your hypothetical. I'm gonna bang you guys off screen now. Thank you so much for your time. As you can see, if you're watching right now, you'll see the lower thirds has everybody's handles on whatever what is the things that we use? Social media platforms. Right. So Micah's on Instagram as that. I'm on all platforms as what you see at the bottom of the screen for me. And for my brother over here, Kenny, he is on everything but Twitch, mainly as Star Fox Trinity, one word. You want to make sure that you're hitting him up when he goes live for his digital missionary work. And with that, I will say to you and those of you who are out there watching right now, or watching later on, thank you for spending this time with us on a Sunday afternoon. Us just chewing the fat, talking about gaming and being a gamer again. I'm learning a whole lot about it and learning what the value is to being able to do this. And how this translates in real life into how do we build community? How do we find purpose? How do we move forward in knowing what our roles are? All of that could be found within the gaming community. And I'm not sure if everyone ever recognizes that, but I think there's a value and there's something that the church can learn. If you enjoyed what you saw, we would really like you to like, subscribe, hit that little notification bell. We try to do this every Sunday at 3:00 PST, and just ask you to have a great rest of your day.